As Christian and Mr. Changeable hurried on, they came to a bog called the Pit of Despair. And before they knew what was happening, both of them had fallen in. They wallowed around in the bog, getting muddier and muddier. Because of the burden on his back, Christian began to sink, first knee-deep, then waist-deep, into the disgusting swamp. "Christian, where are we?" shouted Mr. Changeable. "I've no idea," said Christian. Now Mr. Changeable began to get cross. "Is this the reward you promised? If we've had such bad luck at the very start, what can we expect before the journey ends?" And Mr. Changeable scrambled out of the pit on the side nearest his house and ran home for a hot bath. Meanwhile, Christian was struggling to reach the other side of the bog. When at last he got there, he couldn't haul himself out because of the burden on his back. Just then, a man called Mr. Help came along. "Whatever are you doing in there?" he asked. "Didn't you see the stepping stones?" "I fell in before I saw the danger," said Christian. "Here," said Mr. Help, "give me your hand." And Mr. Help pulled him out and got him back on firm ground. So Christian continued his way towards the little wooden gate. But more trouble was in store. A man called Mr. Worldly Wiseman, who lived nearby in a town called Earthly Ways, was crossing the field. As soon as they met, he asked Christian, "Hey, where do you think you're going with such a huge burden?" "To that little wooden gate." "Have you no wife and children?" asked Mr. Worldly Wiseman. "Yes," replied Christian, "but I'm so weighed down I don't enjoy them anymore." "Who told you to start out on this perilous journey?" "A man came called Mr. Evangelist." "I thought so," said Mr. Worldly Wiseman. "He's always leading people astray. There's no more difficult road in the world than this one he sent you on. I can see from your muddy clothes that you're already fallen into the pit of despair. But that's only the start. The way you're going, you'll meet far worse. Lions, dragons, darkness, and death. Don't risk your life listening to a stranger like him. Listen to me. After all, I'm much older than you. In that village over there lives a man called Mr. Law. He's an expert at helping people off with their burdens. He's cured any number of people who were being driven crazy by their burdens." Christian was more than ready to listen to Mr. Worldly Wiseman and leave the straight path. "Which way is this Mr. Law's house?" he asked. "See that hill?" asked Mr. Worldly Wiseman. "Go past that, and the first house you'll come to is Mr. Law's." But Mr. Worldly Wiseman had directed Christian down the wrong road. What he didn't tell him was that the high hill was very frightening. It seemed to hang over the road, so far that Christian was scared it would fall on him. And even worse, fire flashed from it. Because of his burden, Christian could easily have fallen and burnt to death. He shook with fear.